Welcome everybody, this is Mrs. Baker again, and we are talking about part 2 of class expectations and procedures. So yesterday we talked about all this stuff: materials, contact information, personal devices, daily routine, absences, participation, and we just got into the subject of grades and talking about unit deadlines, and we're going to talk about our specific assignments today. So if you need to recap any of this stuff that I went over yesterday, you can visit the video that's linked here. Please make sure you understand all of that information prior to viewing this part. So today I want to talk very specifically about the types of assignments and activities that we'll do in class. And I want you to understand as well that as far as grading is concerned, we're going to be doing a lot in class, but please note that not all tasks and assignments are graded, because I'd like you to be motivated by learning, not necessarily because of the grade or because of the points. So sometimes we're going to use work as a diagnostic assessment, like I want to see where your starting point is, or I want to see how well did you acquire the information, and then we will use that information later on in the marking period. Everything I tell you, my former students will tell you this too, everything comes back to haunt you. I liken, all the stuff that I teach to a spider web. When you're in my class, it's like walking through a spider web, because everything is interconnected, and then, just like think about it, when you walk through a spider web, it kind of sticks to you and you can't get rid of it. That's my class. Hopefully all the stuff I'm going to teach you is going to stick, and you'll understand, at least by the end, how everything is connected. So to talk about homework, as I said before, is 10 to 30 points. No lates are allowed. It is due when it's due, because we'll probably be using that homework in class that day. And keep in mind too that really homework is an extension of class time. We always start something in class, and then it should be completed and finished at home. And most of the homework I give you can be completed in under 30 minutes. If it's extensive reading, okay, yeah, it'll take a little bit longer, but I try not to overload you with stuff, because I recognize families are busy and, lots are going on. Now, how will homework be scored? I use a check system. Now, keep in mind too, I'm not always going to run around with my clipboard to check your homework. Sometimes I will give you a quick quiz where you will use the homework that you did the night before to see if you did it well and did it right, you'll do well on the quick quiz. But when I do use a check system, check plus plus is 100%, you fully completed it, it looks like you put a lot of effort into it. Check plus is 90%, which is about, you completed it satisfactory, maybe there's some minor issues, maybe there's a spot you missed. Moderately for 80%, you did part of it, most of it, 80% of it. Check minus is, yeah, dude, you didn't do much. And then check minus minus, or M, is a 0%, which is not completed or missing. And what I mean by that is it's not I lost it, it's missing that the student did not turn in the assignment. And I don't do makeups for homework, because it's like, it's a one-shot deal. You turn it in and it's done. And if you're absent, though, that's a little bit of a different story. If you're absent, you need to make sure that you turn in the work. I'm not going to ask for it, but you have at least, you have at least a week. Like if you're out on Monday, by Friday, you should be showing me your homework, and just asking as well, like, oh, is there anything that was checked this week? Can I turn it in? And it's always a good practice to do that. All right, as far as tests and quizzes are concerned, most of my tests and quizzes are open notebook. Heck, they could be open internet. They could be open resource for that matter. But please know this, anything that's open notebook, like, yeah, you could open up another tab. You could have your iPad out and search in Google. But the way I get you is this. Don't think that you're going to have enough time to type in all the answers and do Google searching for those answers. That's not going to work. It may be open notebook, but you're only going to have 15 minutes to take the test. Or not maybe the test, but the quiz. Obviously bigger, longer unit tests you would have the full period for. And I tried to do this. I tried to make it so that you're spending about no more than 1 minute on each question on a test. So in a 43-minute period, that would mean 43 questions. But if I want to up that a little bit and just say like, well, I want you to spend maybe 45 seconds on a question, you could expect unit tests to have 50 questions on it, okay? Now quizzes are usually something, I give quizzes weekly, and we haven't had much yet. There's been a couple of, I gave a course expectation quiz, and you may have had a vocab quiz or a narrative term quick quiz, and they're usually just a check for understanding, but I do usually count those grades into Genesis, okay? And they usually get transferred over because most of it is taken in Edmodo, and then it's very easy for me to transfer it over. And unit tests will probably take about 2 to 4 unit tests a marking period. So the majority of tests and quizzes that you're going to encounter more quizzes more frequently than you will tests. Now something very different I do. This is different than what other teachers may do. And that's fine. Every teacher is allowed to have their own expectations. It's your responsibility to adapt and be flexible with each teacher you encounter. So one thing I do different is that students can retake any failed test or quiz up until that specified unit deadline. Now this doesn't mean at the end of the marking period you come running to me, oh, I want to retake every single test and quiz I've made over the entire year. No, that's not very nice. But if you take a quiz, say, today, and you got your score back in Edmodo, which is why I like to use Edmodo, because you get real-time feedback on whether or not you're right or wrong. You don't wait for me to hand score the papers and then hand them back to you another time. So if you take your quiz, you get your feedback today, you're like, oh, I bombed it. And maybe you were having a bad day, or maybe you didn't understand something. I want you to look over the information, go back to your notes and check your stuff, and then come talk to me and make a request for a retake. Show me that you took some steps to remedy why you didn't understand it. And even explain to me, Ms. Baker, this is what I did on my quiz, and I totally get it now because I messed up here, here, and here, but after seeing the answers, I get it. Can I please retake that quiz? And then I will gladly reset the quiz in Edmodo, and you can retake it. I have no problems with that. If you desire to do well, I can only support you. I'm not going to hold you back. Okay, so that's tests or quizzes. Make sure you've paid attention to that information. For major projects and essays, we do like little mini projects throughout the day, throughout the marking period, and many of our group activities are kind of little mini projects. They'll be about 50 to 200 points. I will always give you a due date window for turning it in. I will never say it's due tomorrow. You always will have enough time. Now, with that due date window though, no lates after that final due date. So if I say you have an essay and it's due next week and you can turn it in Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, I expect by Friday that is turned in, okay? If you need to budget your time, ideally I would love to get some in on Wednesday so I could start grading ahead of time. That would be nice. So I don't get inundated with tons of student papers all at once. And then I can get your papers back to you a little bit quicker. Okay, so please know, and this is again, we are expected to engage in the process of learning and creating throughout working on the assignment, not just procrastinating until Thursday night to get something in by Friday, okay? Every day we will be doing some sort of writing, and you can expect also that you will be crafting and repeatedly giving feedback before turning in a grade for a final product. One thing that I really see a lot of value in is teaching students how to evaluate, and it's not, the evaluation piece isn't just left up to the teacher, that it's so valuable for a student to look critically at another person's writing and then offer feedback, because then they can internalize that and use it on their own writing. So students are always given credit for completing the various parts of the writing process, and then when we engage in I do very structured collaborative peer feedback. I take you through a whole activity about it, and let me show you what that looks like. So here we are taking a look at a worksheet that I use for creative story peer editing. And whenever we're peer editing, we always do the following. We always want to compliment the writer on what he or she and what you liked about the story, what did the person do well, and then we always want to provide constructive feedback. And that is to show that you thought seriously about it, you've critiqued it, and then you're offering something to build and make it better. Because that's what constructive means. Like, you want to build something. It's not just good job. You need more than that. So to show that you understood it, I always ask students to do something to demonstrate that they read the story and understood it, provide information about it, look at the piece more than once, and then after we've done all that, then take a look at the rubric and align the student's piece with the rubric and where they think that would fall, and to tally it up. And then we give the papers back to the original writer, and the author has to agree or disagree with the score. If there's an agreement, fine, I give you credit for the peer editing process. If there's a disagreement, then I do a writer's conference with the editor, and I moderate. And it's not about, oh, you gave me a B and I wanted an A. It's about, well, defend your work. So you lost points for narrative terms, but then the author points out, no, here they are in my spot, in my essay or story. So this is just a very interesting way to get students thinking and crafting their writing. And this is the same rubric I use for when I score their work, so it's very similar. Back on the class expectations page, one thing we're going to do differently this year is we are going to connect with classrooms across the country. So we're going to have an Edmodo writing group where we are going to connect with students from Maine, California, Pennsylvania, New York. And again, using those same guidelines, what I just showed you in the other example, that's one way that we do peer editing, okay? Now, peer evaluation and teacher graded final products I also use another system besides what I just showed you, a checklist of requirements, and this is what one of them looks like. So on this checklist, you have a series of questions. Did the author do this? And then over here on the side, the peer editor marks yes, partial, or no for each one. The checklist rubric is a great way for me to make sure that students have followed directions and have met requirements. And it's a great way for them to check, did they follow directions and meet requirements. And then for the OSU, this is a rubric that I like to use to assess creativity and some of those other like intangibles. So, how much effort? Did you go above and beyond? You get 100% outstanding. Did you do satisfactory? You met my requirements. You completed it proficiently, you get 88% satisfactory. And if you didn't do what I asked you to do, unsatisfactory, I will most likely hand it back to you and ask you for a revision. Here is what one of the OSU rubrics look like. Essentially, I want to push students to stand out with their work, not just do the, I got the job done, it's good enough. I want to avoid the good enough mentality. And if you have any questions concerning the peer editing process, I will gladly sit down with you and explain it in more detail. And we do these periodically throughout the year. To revisit some of the information about technology in our classroom, that Southern's AUP policy, very important, and that student breach of the AUP may result in disciplinary action and loss of computer privileges. Yes, not a good thing. Again, class set of Chromebooks every Monday, and we could have additional days throughout the week. And you are expected to participate both face-to-face and online via Edmodo. And again, I've reiterated this again, but I want to make sure you understand this. I always give multiple days to complete computer assignments, and you always have the option to do things on paper. And again, I'm going to be teaching you about how to use your cell phones and personal devices. We're going to be taking a look at Curriculate, which is a great tool for reading instruction. And you already know about Remind because I have set that up for you as well. Again, if you have any questions or comments about the above information, please contact me. I want this year to be successful and engaging for everyone.